Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, interesting article coming from the Telegraph. And this confirms in my head, in my imagination, no, based on evidence and patterns, and observation, evidence and patterns, that the West switched. It was like an order. It was not an order. You don't need an order. It's like a switch. When these guys open the door for criticism, or at least for telling a little part of the other side, before anything like, oh, the Russians are not so stupid, or the Russians are not losing that much. Now they're just like not losing that much. Before it was losing, now it's not losing that much, and then they will escalate it to not losing, and then they will say they're winning. That's how they do. We have here the Telegraph telling us, using this, I think you might call them correspondent or experts. And he is an expert. The problem is, an expert is like this Colonel Richard Kemp. I covered before, and he was a weasel. Now, he's going to say something, and I don't know if I should trust him. I mean, he comes around. Let's put it this way. The problem is, they hire these experts, and then the experts coming from a certain kind of area, with Colonel comes from the military, but hey, he is the expert, so he should be. But it's like, he has his own agenda. Don't be fooled about it. It's like, for instance, I have a newspaper, and I hire an expert in cigarettes, in tobacco, from, let's say, Philip Morris Company, a former, and a CEO from Philip Morris is going to be my story writers, my opinion maker, my expert in my newspaper. What do you think? Do you think that that guy from Philip Morris will be objective in covering tobacco and giving us his expert opinion, or he might have a little agenda, and that's why I actually hired him? So let me show you this little article, coming from Telegraph, very revealing. Leaving aside the fact that Colonel Richard Kemp is allowed to say these things, this is what he says. Ukraine's counteroffensive is stalling. Okay, Captain Obvious or Colonel Obvious, that's happened after the first week. I said it after the first week of the invasion, counteroffensive. But hey, it's not about who's smarter here, because that competition was won by, thank you very much. Anyway, the West must prepare for humiliation. Really, Kemp? Now? It's like it's almost ready to collapse, and now he comes and say, hey, I'm going to tell you something that has been happening for the past 2 months and a half. I kept my mouth shut during those 2 months and a half. Now it's about to happen, and I come as an expert and kind of tell you, and I leave a little door out, is stalling the counteroffensive. Not losing, stalling. The West must prepare for humiliation. Thank you very much, Colonel Obvious. This guy right here, coming now, he's a weasel. I can't believe that he didn't know that the counteroffensive was dead, face down, floating downstream in the water. Okay, I don't think so. I think he knew that. If he didn't, that means he's a colonel for nothing. He should not be hired by the Telegraph if the Telegraph wants to promote truth, not an agenda. And I think the second part is true here. So let's read this article further. Look at this guy. Hey, Papa. And this guy, oh my God, we're losing here. A beautiful picture, I guess. Frame it and use it for, I know, slingshot practice. Here it is. No, don't do that. Time is running out for Ukraine. That's what Mark Milley said in an interview that I featured just before this video. After 18 months of war, it is no longer a question of if the Western alliance will falter, but when. This guy is a weasel. I remember when I covered him 2 months ago, nothing really changed, my man. Nothing. It's just the same old. And now you come and say, that means the situation in Ukraine is really bad. As I suspect it's much worse than even I would get from the information. I think these guys are just not in the court like doing rope a dope. They are like, when they got punched a few times and they like barely finding equilibrium, balance. That's how they are. They are like on the fall, and the guy is punching you and keeps you up. If you ever seen, let's say, watch boxing, and you see one is punched a few times and is kept standing by the guy's punches. When he's about to fall, the other way, bang, and when he's about to fall, bang, but he's already he's out. He's gonna collapse, but these guys' fists are not letting him go down. The problem is the legs of that guy is still over there. But no, the falls on the ropes, falls here, bang, bang. I've seen many of these kind of knockouts. Horrible. I think that's where Ukraine is right now. But they're not saying it. They say a little bit. Why? They don't want to be accused by their side as being, hey, are you a Russian, blah, 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 blah. No, just telling what I observe. You can't do this. That's a revolutionary act in current situation, isn't it? To tell the truth. Since the start, despite making, now he's just making some excuses here. Since the start, despite making many of the right noises and supplying some military hardware, France and Germany in particular, what about Great Britain? Have been reluctant partners. Their leaders have, now he's gonna bitch out of France and Germany. They didn't have to get involved, Camp. You didn't have to get involved. So let's start with that one. Don't point fingers. Now they start arguing whose fault it is that Ukraine lost. The real losers are the Ukrainians, the big losers, unfortunately. And these guys' plan did not come to fruition. So now don't point at France and Germany. This should not have happened. And yes, it happened because of the Russians, because they were irrational. They just attacked unprovoked. Not NATO moving in. No, that's not it. Not NATO putting rockets in Poland and Romania. Not NATO wanting NATO/Al Capone, US, wanting to get in Ukraine, get weapons in Ukraine ready. They were training Ukraine for what? 8 years? No, it's not that, Camp. No. So don't point a finger at France and Germany. And indeed, France and Germany were the ones that were the guarantors of the Minsk Agreements 1 and 2. Who torpedoed those? Camp, mother. Who torpedoed that? I can name 2 countries, and one is yours. How do I know that? Because you were not asked to be, you did not want actually to be part of the Minsk Agreements guarantors. Why? So you can, but it's okay. These guys sabotaged it from within, France and Germany, by looking the other way around and not pressuring their side, which is the Ukrainians, to do what they said they will do under the Minsk Agreements. So camp off, all right? So anyway, it's true, and I'm not going to read further here because it says that it is the US calling the shots in this war. As the provider of the lion's share of backing for Ukraine, it is the US calling the shots in this war. Really? I mean, when I see this guy, he's telling the truth here, as much as he's allowed and he thinks he's allowed. Yet, since the earliest days, President Biden too has been dragging his... So now they show that they are pointing fingers now. It's because of you, because of you, because of you. You should not have overthrown you should not have overthrown the government of Viktor Yanukovych in 2014. That's where really everything collapsed. That's when those guys in Crimea, those guys in Donbass said, we don't recognize you, we're not with you. You're not with us? We're coming over, right over, let's go. And the democratic countries did what? All right, so don't give me this now. Who didn't provide who, what? That was not supposed to happen. And this side helped quite a lot, I would say. And here it says, new polls in both Europe and the US shows public support for military aid. When they say military aid, there's no such a thing, military aid. There is weapons to kill. It's not military aid. They use euphemism. No, there's weapons, bombs, aviation, everything to kill the other side, other humans. That's what it is. But they're not going to call it like this, because if they call it like that each and every time, they will have less than 50% of Americans in favor of additional funding. They will have 10% in favor. But because they use euphemisms, and even with the propaganda of euphemisms, repetition, bombardment every day with this garbage, they still wanes. Why? People's lives, man. people's lives. Unless you're a masochist, you can't keep doing something that hurts you personally. You can do it for a while, but then it gets bad and you say, why? Even the weasel, if the weasel doesn't have Coca-Cola, air conditioning, pays a lot at the pump, things increase in price. Even the weasel who's yeah, this is the flag put on my car in front of my house. Even they will say, do you support that? Yes, I support that. Can you give us an anonymous poll here? Oh, shit, no, God. That's what they do. That's what they do. So anyway, Kemp, you're right, Kemp. But he's blaming, lack of support. So basically, he says, more. They need more of the same. It's the same as one definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. Using the same ingredients for a cake and expect to build a tank. I mean, the same with these guys. Kemp is a... I'm not going to read the whole thing here. You can go and see it. Colonel Richard Kemp is a former British Army officer. Now, with this guy in charge of your military, how confident do you feel, my friends in Great Britain? I mean, really, we have Milley and we have Austin. Two very low. Now you got Kemp, who I don't think he's stupid. I think he's just a weasel. I think he's smart, but he's turned a politician, turned a opinion maker. And not a good one, by the way. We can see through him. Here you have it, my friends. The Ukrainian war counteroffensive is stalling. Has been stalling, my friend. Is not he used present tense continuous like it's going right now. Yes, it's going right now, but when did it start? Well, we didn't provide enough weapons. We didn't really. What do you want? How much more? More? Yes, more. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Yes, it's Stalin, yes. Stalin, Man of Steel, yeah. And the West must prepare for humiliation. Yeah, they know it. But you know what? When that will happen, you know how they're going to report this? And including you, Kemp, and I will make that video on you. You're going to report it as a success, as a diplomatic success. Neither side will lose. You'll see. Will be reported here that actually Russia did not achieve its 4 goals why it invaded unprovoked Ukraine, but he's got 4 goals anyway, stated them, but these guys are no unprovoked. Okay, they didn't achieve them, even though in practice they did. It's like I said right now, is dark in here, but you can fucking see it's not dark. You can see me, right? Anyway, but that's how these guys are doing. And it's going to say, but we won. Based on what? Our diplomacy showed a great success stopping Putin from invading Europe and conquering the entire Europe. What are you talking about? That's a scenario that's never been. That's in your imagination. The Russians want to subjugate the whole European territory, the freedom and democracy, Western civilization, it goes, but we stopped it in Ukraine. That's how they're going to portray it, my friends. Don't fall for it. That's how they're going. They're not going to say we lost. Why would they say? They would say, no, we won. Diplomacy, we implemented, we stopped him. You're going to see how it stopped. All of the 4 Russian goals that they started the war for will be implemented. You'll see. Or if those will be implemented, you'll see how these guys are going to portray that. A diplomatic Western success. Stopping Putin from something that never happened, never was stated by the Russians, no intention, that is to conquer. So we stopped it. I mean, like this, I protect you. I say, well, I'm your protector. I protected you from 15 rapes, 15 muggings, 15, assault with deadly weapon, assault. But never happened. It's something that I tell you, I stopped you preventively, but never happened. It could have, as Djokovic, the tennis fantastic guy, said, the greatest maybe, I voted for him. He said when he was asked, you could have done when he threw the rocket or something, this weasel reporter said, hey, he could have injured somebody on the court by your little anger, blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, but it could have rained and it didn't. It could have snowed and it didn't. like this, we can make all kind of freaking scenarios. I mean, we don't talk about scenarios. Well, nothing would have happened. Jesus Christ might have returned and give us peace like he did the first time. No, that was not his goal, remember? Yeah. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.